Today we're going to learn how to cover a cake in fondant. We're actually going to use a styrofoam dummy cake, which this technique of course still applies. I'm using the Cisco shortening as a glue on the styrofoam, rubbing it all on, just as this would act as a buttercream for a regular real cake. Technique still applies. Next, I am taking the fondant. I created a little dome in the inside, and I am applying my food coloring inside. So then whenever I am kneading, the food coloring does not squirt out and get all over your clothes and the countertop and makes a less mess for you to clean up. So I am kneading the fondant on my countertop, lightly dusted with powdered sugar just to prevent any sticking on the fondant and the actual countertop. So I'm making sure it is nice and even, getting as many creases, air bubbles out before I begin to knead and roll it out. Next, I'm taking a push pin and just as you would have in a sewing kit, and I am pressing a lot of little holes inside of the bottom of the fondant roll. This prevents air bubbles from creasing up on the other side when you are rolling your fondant out. The more bubbles you have, the less air bubbles will be created when you are rolling out your fondant with your rolling pin. Trust me, the more that you have, the better. Next, I have lightly dusted my countertop with powdered sugar, and I have created a nice little round ball to where it's going to really give me this even, round, full shape for the fondant as I am rolling. As you can see, I am taking the rolling pin, I'm making one pass, I am turning it, reshaping it into a round, and I'm picking it back up and rolling and repeating this pattern. This prevents the fondant from sticking to your countertop to where you have to repeat this entire process all over again. It does seem a little tedious, but trust me, if you go through, clean your rolling pin off with your hand, pick it up, reshape it, roll it, repeat, you're going to get a more consistent fondant rolling every single time. This is the old-fashioned way of actually applying fondant to a cake. I know that there are new ways and techniques. I've learned this when I was in school. I have no reason to learn a different technique to apply fondant, with the rolled paneling method. This technique works fine and just takes a lot of practice, as anything takes inside of cake design. The more you practice on it, the more that you're going to get better and perfect this. You do not need the mat. I have used that product that is on the market. When I actually just learned the technique, and you learn how to do things properly in cake design, you don't have to go out and buy a lot of things to make cake design, quote unquote, easier. Just practice. The more that you practice, the more that you're going to get better. That was my little tangent. Next, I am going to applying the pressure with the rolling pin, smoothing it out with my fondant smoother. So I'm getting that even layer. I am taking a fabric measuring tape, and I am making sure that I have enough width and length of the cake and the height. I am adding those together to make sure that I have enough that's going to cover the cake. You're seeing me measuring with a fabric measuring tape to make sure that it is big enough to cover the cake. I'm putting the rolling pin in the middle of the fondant, so then I can get a good grasp so it's not going to fall over on me. So then I am covering the cake, just rolling it on top, and then I'm taking the fondant smoother and kind of sticking this. Again, you're going to apply the same technique if this was a regular buttercream cake. Next, I am taking my hand and I am smoothing it down in this cupping motion, and you're seeing that the fondant naturally stretches. So if it appears that the fondant isn't going to be big enough, just trust yourself, it's going to be big enough because it's naturally stretching and going to cover the full height of the cake. So I'm taking the fondant smoother, and just kind of like making sure I'm kind of guiding the folds down. So I am pulling the fondant away from the cake so then I can smooth it down with my hand. And then it's going to then tape and stick onto the cake. It's a nice practice and rolling motion of pulling it away, smoothing it down. the fondant is going to naturally stretch. You're taking the fondant smoother to then stick the cake to the fondant and just keep repeating it. This takes practice. I have had the mat to actually learn how to apply fondant. And then I just went to school and I just learned how to do it the regular way. This is something to where it just takes practice. And I love fondant cakes. I pretty much only design on fondant cakes, but that's going to be another story. For a different day. I like to ramble, so and go on my side stories. But as you can see, I'm just taking my hand. I am smoothing it down, moving the cake away, so then I can get the wrinkles out. And when you begin to practice, and then you're going to pull the cake away, smooth down, you're not going to get any creases and wrinkles. I noticed that I see a lot of cake designers to where they have a lot of wrinkles at the bottom of their cake, and that's because they didn't do a lot of the stretching and pulling to then stick back down, to where you see that the fondant just naturally stretches. If you're not doing that enough, you're going to get a lot of crinkles and ridges at the bottom, to where your fondant looks very messy, and it does not look eye appealing. So then as I have guided the fondant all the way down, I'm taking my fondant smoothers and using the bottom of the fondant smoother to then create a nice solid crease, and I am thinning out the bottom, so then it's going to be easier for me to cut. But then that also gives me a very solid line. I don't have any wrinkles. It is going to be a very smooth application, to where I'm just applying that pressure. I am kind of like making it a little translucent, so then I know that, hey, it has properly stuck correctly. Next, I am taking my pizza roller and I'm just going to cut about a third of the fondant off. I'm not going all the way around. I've gone all the way around before, and that doesn't work for me. I just kind of like to do it in small pieces, because then the fondant isn't going to tear and drag at the bottom. So I do it kind of like in thirds or fourths. So then I'm taking my fondant smoothers and I am turning the cake with me. You just want to practice this way, because if this was a real cake, you're not going to be able to pick the cake up with your bare hands. You need those fondant smoothers to pick the cake up for you. So that's just a technique that you just need to apply for your cake business. So that is it. I'm going to take my scraps and then put it all together and put it away for my next project. And then we are done to then design our cake. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found this tutorial useful. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and let me know if this technique has worked for you in the comments below.